Let's talk about selling phone calls. So how do you sell a phone call? So I use a company called Call8. Again, plenty of companies that use out there. If you use another system, obviously I can't help you. This is the system I've been using for years, and it works great. One thing you don't want to do is use a calling platform or a calling system that goes down. I've never had a problem with this system going down, never had an issue, so I can't complain about it. Now, what does this mean? That means that somebody goes to my landing page and there's a phone number on it. They dial that phone number, and that phone number is going to go to my buyer. Now, if you have one buyer, it's great. Now you don't have to worry about it. If you have multiple buyers, but you need to filter the phone call, then you need to add in another system. All right, so I use Call8 and a different company to filter my calls. Now, again, there are companies that do like a two-in-one and they have multiple services all in one package, and they're out there, and you know, you can certainly use those companies. It's probably cheaper at the end of the day, but I've been one of those people that once I find a system that works, even if I'm saving a couple bucks, I'm just at a point where I just don't want to change it all up and go and learn a system and do all that stuff. But that's just me. So what obviously it's totally up to you on how you want to run your business, but this is just the way I do it. So if you have one buyer, Call8's great. If you have multiple buyers, Call8's still great. You just have to add another system, but I'll show you that in a different video. So what happens now? You get a phone call, and you want to send that off to another phone number. Now, why do you use Call8? You use Call8 to forward phone calls because you want to put your phone number on your website, then you can control the phone calls. You don't put your client's phone number on a website. But you also want to record the phone calls and or just monitor phone calls. So for example, I like recording the phone calls just in case something crazy happens. I can go back, listen in, and see what's going on. Or if you don't want to record the phone calls, you at least know how long the calls are, because typically when you sell a call, you base it on a time frame, like 90 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever the case may be, whatever decision you make with your buyer. You can, through the Call8 system, route by state. You really don't. Oh God, it's really a pain in the butt. I don't even recommend it. But if you need to, I'll go over that real quick too. But they have a lot of different. This is a good platform to use. But again, if you need to be in a position where you need to like ask questions like I do, for example, buyer calls in, and I route the call based on revenue. So if that lead calls in and they do over $10,000 a month in revenue, it goes to one buyer. If they do under $10,000 a month in revenue, they go to another buyer. If they're a startup, they go to another buyer. If they want credit repair, they go to a different buyer, right? So you can't do that in Call8. It's limited to that extent, but it does have a lot of cool stuff. So when you first get your account, first thing you do is add a phone number. You go to numbers, go add number. Here, you have all different options. You want 800, 888, 877, whatever you want. You want all price points, right? I just go with the cheapest. It doesn't, you don't need to get fancy. I mean, if you want to get fancy, go ahead and get fancy, but I just use the cheapest numbers possible. There's usually $5 numbers here somewhere. Let's just see. If I do this, what happens? All right, so there's a bunch of $5 numbers. So you can just choose this. I think this is the cheapest you're going to get. Well, let's just see what happens if it gets cheaper. You can get cheaper. Look at that. You have a $2 number. So now let's just choose a $2 number, see what happens. So it's going to be $2 setup and $2 a month. It's an 844 number. If you don't really care, then just go with the cheaper number, right? So you're going to do this. You're going to hit add to account. And you're going to buy it. So you go through the buying process. What's going to happen is go back to hitting numbers, and all your numbers are going to be here. So your number is going to appear here. Now what you want to do, it's a couple of things you can do. You can record it. You can forward it, right? You can manage it in terms of knowing what's going on. You can do a state filter. So let's just go through. Now I'm going to hide all my numbers just because you never know who's watching these videos and whoever gets a hold of them, and they have my phone numbers out there. I don't need people running a dialer to all my numbers and screwing up my stuff. So I usually hide my information with my buyers and stuff, because you just never know whoever gets a hold of these videos. I've had people steal my stuff before, so just so you understand, that's why I hide my stuff. And I recommend that to you too. Never give out a live website. If you're running paid traffic to a website, never give that out to anybody. And I don't even give it out to my buyers. I set up a demo site that's not in use, and I say this is what it looks like. But you don't need to know what my live site is because every time you do, people love to just go fill out the form. Like it's fun, and then what does it do? It starts sending bad leads to your buyers. So you really don't want to do that. I've had issues where people form stuff you, meaning they just send crap data into your forms. Like you want to be careful with who you give your information out to. So you're going to click on this edit button all the way on the right to your number. And what you're going to do is right here it says ring to number. You're going to put your phone number there, whatever it is. So that's going to be, let's just say, your buyer's phone number. And you're going to put that in there. And that phone number, when someone calls your phone number, it's going to automatically ring to your buyer. So you can do ring to number, voicemail, VoIP termination. It's going to be ring to number. If it's in the U.S., you choose one, choose the phone number, and then turn the everything off. So voicemail, fax off, and that's it. You save it, and you can label it to whatever name you want. So that's how you forward the phone number. So now when someone calls it automatically gets transferred over and you're good to go. All right, so outside of that, the next thing you want to do is call recording. So I am going to go to call recording and settings. Call recording settings, again, you're going to click on all the way on the right side, the edit button, and it's going to ask you, do you want call recording? Yes or no, or on and off. You hit on. Do you want an email? You can actually have this email to you. So you want an email to you, just hit yes and put your email address in. Then do you want a personalized greeting? You typically don't want one because your buyer's probably going to have something already set up. So you just do a no greeting. And then do you want automatic storage options? I just have it off. It's totally up to you if you want to store it. They're going to save your recordings for 30 days, just so you know. So after 30 days, everything disappears. All right, so that's how you do your call recording. Now, that's pretty much it. I mean, for 99% of my calls, that's all I needed. I've never needed to do much more than that. You just name everything, you're good to go. There's really not, it's pretty simple setup, as you can see. I mean, it doesn't really take much to figure this stuff out. But, there are a lot of other options if you have other things that you want to do here, but you can go through and check all this stuff up. But I got to be honest with you, you don't really need more than that. And this is how I sell calls. So you definitely want to have your stuff on your website to click to call, especially because so much traffic's mobile. So you set up your form, or I'm sorry, you set up the code on your website that way. So it's a click to call link. So they're on your website, they see a phone number, and they just hit the button instead of having to long press it, copy it, go to their phone, paste it in, and then call the number. Just click the call. So and then everything routes through here. Call8 is not the cheapest company out there, but they definitely are the best. Again, there's so much other stuff you can do here. Call management, all these features, enhanced features. You can do a hunt group. There's so much stuff that you can do. You can do, step call blocking, forward to closest location. I mean, payphone blocking, all this stuff. Maximum call length. You can say, listen, if this call lasts 20 minutes, shut it off. If you want to do that. But I'll show you one other thing actually. In the call recording, so let's view some calls. So you can see a bunch of calls came in today. And if I just hit, you could just click on this little sound thing, the speaker. And
Thank you.
You can just listen to the recording. You can click here to download the recording if you want, and you're good to go. Right, so you download your recordings, you can email them, you can do whatever you want. You can add a note if you want to, say good lead, bad lead, whatever you want to do. You can do whatever you want here. And you can basically listen to the calls and make sure everything's good, bad. If you're, screening or you're testing someone, on the other end, you want to test, make sure these guys are doing something right. You just have a lot of options here to do whatever you want with these calls. So it's good stuff. And what I'll do is I'll make another video on the IVR stuff, where the IVR is where somebody calls in and there's a question. It's do you, they just ask them questions like press one for yes, two for no. Whatever your question is, like, are you interested in auto loan? Press one for yes, two for no, and then you can go through and send different calls to different buyers. To forward calls via a state, you go to numbers and do schedule forwarding, and then in here you're going to hit add rule. Now you can do an area or a number. So you could say an area, it could be, Alabama, any state you want. Or you can do a number, and it could be a very specific phone number. So let's just say an area, you pick Alabama, and then you say, okay, I want this. If someone calls from Alabama, I want them to go this specific phone number. You can say send to voicemail after if you want to, but one ring, two rings, or if you don't want to do a voicemail, you don't do a voicemail. Then you can also on the right side here, you can select days of the week. So you can say, all right, if someone calls from Alabama on Monday between 12 and 5, then send them to this phone number. Otherwise, do something else, right? So then you got to pick the other thing. So if you're going to say from 9 to 5, send them here. Well, if they don't call 9 to 5, then they'll do what's the default. So basically, when you put this forwarding in, you're going to put it in as part of like you're going to forward a phone number in here. And then when you add this state restriction, it's really just for when someone hits this exact filter. So if you say, if someone calls from Alabama between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., then what's going to happen is going to go to the original forwarded number if it's outside of 9 to 5. And that's in the regular call forwarding schedule you already have set up. Okay, so this is going to be inside like an existing one. So when you do this, you have to pick a phone number that you're going to do it with. So when you scroll down here a little bit, you see those little check boxes. So these are all my phone numbers. So you're going to say, I want this to work with this phone number. Or, I mean, technically you could choose multiple. You could choose all of them if you wanted to, but, typically you're probably going to do, one phone number. And then you're going to hit save. So whatever you want your filter to be, this is how you do it. And then if you want to do one for every single state, you got to do this, 50 times. So whatever you want. Or if you have a client or a buyer that's maybe only 3 states, you say, okay, if someone calls from these 3 states, do this. So you can do whatever you want. So it's pretty cool.